A single recording booth can be where an animated icon is truly born. Sometimes all it takes is a comedian riffing off script or a quiet, restrained line reading to give a drawn or digital character something that feels like a genuine soul. Across decades of film, television, and games, a handful of performances turn side characters into legends, proof that the voice can matter just as much as the artwork on screen. Few TV cameos generated as much backstage buzz as Michael Jackson's guest spot on The Simpsons. In the Season 3 premiere Stark Raving Dad, he voiced Leon Kompowski, a gentle psychiatric patient convinced he was the king of Pop. Jackson's involvement was handled with total secrecy. He was credited under the pseudonym John J. Smith, which left many viewers guessing for years whether it was really him. The singer had reportedly reached out to the show's producers himself because he was a fan and wanted to be part of an episode. His contribution went beyond just voice and character. He also co-wrote Happy Birthday, Lisa, the song that became the episode's emotional centerpiece. Jackson handled all of the characters' spoken dialogue personally, but because of contractual issues with his record label at the time, a sound-alike vocalist named Kip Lennon was brought in to perform the actual singing. The mystery surrounding his identity only added to the episode's legend, and it remains one of the most talked-about celebrity cameos in the show's history. Robin Williams' work as a genie in Aladdin reshaped what voice acting could be. Rather than sticking to a fixed script, Williams built the character through non-stop improvisation, rapid-fire impressions, tangents, and sudden emotional turns. Recording sessions reportedly produced hours of alternate takes for single lines, giving animators an enormous well of material to draw from when shaping the character's timing and movement. Genie's visual design actually evolved around Williams' vocal rhythms. His expressions, transformations, and gestures were built to match the comedic bursts in recordings. Underneath all the jokes, the character still carried real warmth, rooted in themes of loyalty and friendship. Williams proved that spontaneous, unscripted performance could define a character's entire identity, and Disney's animators adjusted their timing to match the unpredictable energy he brought to the booth. The result was a character who felt alive, funny, and emotionally whole inside a fantasy world. Rango, 2011, took an unusual approach to voice work. Instead of recording actors separately in isolated booths, the cast, led by Johnny Depp, performed scenes together, physically acting them out while the dialogue was captured. This let raw, in-the-moment emotion directly shape how the animation was timed and staged. Rango's nervous energy, exaggerated storytelling, and shifting bravado all came out of these group sessions rather than from a traditional script read alone. Animators later translated those physical and vocal choices into the character's expressions and movements. The technique gave Rango a grounded, slightly strange, emotionally responsive quality that's difficult to achieve through standard studio voice recording. Idina Menzel's performance as Elsa in Frozen became iconic by blending strong acting instincts with musical power. The character's arc, centered on fear, self-acceptance, and embracing one's own identity, demanded emotional honesty in both her spoken lines and her songs, especially the film's signature number, Let It Go. Menzel had conveyed both inner turmoil and a sense of liberation within the same performance. Animators shaped Elsa's movements and facial expressions to match the emotional intensity captured in the recording booth, giving the character a believable mix of vulnerability and confidence despite her fantastical setting. Menzel's work helped establish Elsa's identity well beyond the film itself, and it remains one of Disney's clearest examples of how a vocal performance can leave a lasting cultural mark. James Earl Jones brought Mufasa in The Lion King to life through restraint rather than theatrics. The role called for authority, warmth, and moral weight, all communicated through carefully controlled delivery. Jones' deep, steady voice became the emotional foundation for a character who was both king and father figure, balancing strength with compassion. Every line in his recording sessions carried narrative weight, and animators used the pacing of his voice to inform facial expression and movement. Timing throughout the film. Even silent moments gained extra power because of the vocal groundwork laid earlier in the story. Mufasa's presence lingered long after his character's death, largely because of how firmly his identity had been established through voice alone, a strong example of how minimal vocal variation can express deep emotional complexity. Bradley Cooper's take on Rocket in Guardians of the Galaxy required sharp comedic timing, paired with real psychological depth. The character uses sarcasm and aggression to mask genuine trauma and insecurity, and Cooper's fast-paced delivery had to shift constantly between humor and anger without ever losing consistency. Because Rocket's motion capture and vocal performance were recorded separately, editors had to synchronize them carefully afterward. The character's personality took shape through tonal contrasts, comedic bravado hiding deeper loyalty issues and vulnerability. Much of Rocket's emotional arc relies on subtle vocal shifts rather than visual cues, letting sound do heavy narrative lifting. Audiences connected with the character by recognizing those vocal defense mechanisms, which helped make Rocket both comic relief and emotional anchor within the ensemble. What started as a minor toy in Toy Story 4 became a scene stealer thanks to Keanu Reeves' voice work as Duke Kaboom, a flamboyant Canadian stunt motorcyclist toy hiding real insecurity beneath his showmanship. Reeves balanced humor, charm, and quiet disappointment within a single performance. Recording sessions leaned into theatrical announcer energy, dramatic pauses, and sudden emotional shifts reflecting the character's past failures and present bravado. Animators built Duke's physical gestures directly around these vocal rhythms. The contrast between his over-the-top introduction and his more vulnerable backstory gave the character both comedic punch and unexpected emotional depth, turning a simple toy concept into a fully realized personality. Dwayne Johnson's performance as Maui in Moana required him to move fluidly between spoken dialogue and full musical numbers, especially in songs like You're Welcome, where the character's confidence and charisma come through as much in the singing as in the acting. Recording sessions demanded tight coordination between vocal rhythm and musical timing. The role called for exaggerated charisma on the surface, while still allowing glimpses of vulnerability underneath. Animators synced Maui's physical movements to the beats of the music, ensuring his body language matched the cadence of the songs. Because so much of the character's identity is carried through voice and rhythm, Maui stands out as a figure built almost entirely from vocal performance and musical delivery. Ellen DeGeneres reprised her role as Dory in Finding Dory, expanding on themes of memory loss, family, and self-discovery. She maintained the character's playful confusion from the first film, while layering in deeper emotional beats. Recording sessions required a careful balance, keeping Dory's memory struggles funny without undercutting their emotional weight. Much of the character's comedic timing comes from unpredictable pacing, sudden pauses, abrupt topic changes, and repeated realizations. Animators built Dory's underwater movements around these vocal patterns, reinforcing her personality visually. The blend of genuine kindness with comic unpredictability let Dory stay funny, while still landing real emotional moments, and a generous continuity across films helped deepen audience attachment to the character over time. Antonio Banderas' performance as Puss in Boots evolved significantly by the time of The Last Wish, shifting from pure swashbuckling charm toward themes of mortality and self-reflection. Earlier portrayals leaned heavily on confidence and humor, while the newer film introduced softer pacing and more emotional restraint. Banderas balanced comedy with genuine seriousness, using subtle tonal shifts to convey internal struggle without losing the character's recognizable charm. Animation timing adjusted to reflect quieter, more reflective moments. This evolution shows how a long-running animated character can mature over time, using voice performance as the primary tool for adding psychological depth to an otherwise familiar comedic design. Cameron Diaz's voice work as Fiona in Shrek helped redefine expectations for a fairy tale princess character. Diaz took over the role after original actress Janine Garofalo was replaced during a major overhaul of the film's script. The part demanded confidence and action sequences alongside genuine emotional honesty in quieter moments. Recording sessions focused on natural, believable reactions and comedic timing, since much of the film's humor relied on subverting expectations. Diaz's delivery helped reveal a personality that went beyond fairy tale appearances, and animators built expressions around her line readings to strengthen